And today we're going to study Dana White. We're going to look at the 7 principles that gave Dana White his edge. Every man who's building a billion-dollar brand, making a difference, creating an impact, they live by a set of rules. They live by certain principles that gives them the edge. And I've been obsessed with finding out what gives a man his edge, because in order for you to find your edge, you have to look at patterns. In order for you to find the patterns, you have to be a student of the game. Because if you study this, man, if you study the game, you're going to become a better player. Welcome to the Timecode podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez, and this video, you're going to learn the 7 things that I've learned from Dana White that gives him his edge. Let's begin.
Me and the Fertitta brothers started doing jiu-jitsu together, and we fell in love with it. We became, obsessed with it, training 3-4 days a week. And then we started to meet some of the UFC fighters. And we were like, wow, these guys are really good guys.
John Lewis was a guy who lived in Las Vegas, and he, at the time, was a UFC fighter. He was on the roster. We started training with John. We did one-on-ones. It was me, Frank, and Dana. And we fell in love with it. I mean, it just completely changed our perspective.
White was managing a few UFC fighters, and while talking to the company, realized it was in trouble. So he convinced the Fertittas to buy the UFC from Bob Meyerowitz before it went bankrupt.
I love risk. I love taking what I call, people would call chances. I like taking opportunities.
So that's principle number 1, taking risks. See, Dana White saw an opportunity, saw the risk, and was able to execute on that risk. So in order for you to win in this game of life, you have to learn how to take risks. That's the definition of being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship means, can you take risks? Can you have the courage? Can you have the balls to do what most people are not willing to do? Which be willing to lose, be willing to fail. That's what risk is. There's no guarantees in life. There was no guarantee that Dana was going to be able to build what he built now. But he took the risk because he saw there was an opportunity.
In January 2001, the brothers closed a deal to acquire the UFC for $2 million, naming White as the president and giving him a 10% stake.
We felt like what we had here is we had that brand. All of our smart attorneys and consultants told us, what are you guys doing? This is never going to work. How does this make any sense? And what we said is, we're getting 3 letters, the UFC, and that's all that matters. And we'll build the business from there.
You want to talk about people not believing in the UFC? So think about this. When we bought this company for $2 million, we literally bought an old wooden octagon. We had 3 letters, the UFC, and like 12, 15 contracts, right? The old owner had sold everything, all the ancillary stuff away to Lionsgate, right? So Lionsgate owned everything, the merchandise, the video games, the DVDs. So we flew out to Lionsgate and they sold us the rights back. And I want to say it was like $3 million that was going to be paid over the next several years. So when we left, they were probably cracking up laughing, going, wow, this is going to look great on our books over the next 3 years. Now that those rights are worth, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. So when you talk about not believing, they own the rights to this thing. They never thought this was going to work.
That's principle number 2. Believe in the product. See, Dana believed in the UFC, even though he paid millions of dollars to get 3 letters, an octagon, and nothing else. He had to negotiate to get the rights back to all the merchandise. But he believed in the product. Imagine Lionsgate right now sitting there thinking, man, I could have owned these rights. We could have owned this merchandise. We could have owned this billions of dollars worth of merchandise. But now, you see that the moment that you as a leader believe in your product, you believe in your business, you believe in your mission, you believe in your vision, be able to make things happen. Because that's the principle that gives a man his edge, is the belief system that he's bringing value into this world.
It's pretty incredible that White, who was operating boxing gyms and had never run a big business before, was suddenly trusted to negotiate multi-million-dollar deals.
He really understood who the customer was and what the demographic was. And how the product should be presented for it to be successful. He had this incredible drive. Like, he's so competitive, and he would literally run through a wall to make it work. And I think, looking back, if me and my brother would have said, we're going to go out, we're going to hire a Harvard MBA, we'd have been toast.
So one thing that we could learn right now is understanding the customer, understanding who is your product for. That's one of the things that Dana knew right away. He knew who his customer was. He knew that the UFC wasn't for everyone. It was for a niche market. And he capitalized on that, but now he wanted to find allies to help him put his product in front of the right customer.
And he said, come to Taj Mahal We'll do the events. We did 2 events. He showed up for the first one, stayed till the last.
Trump enjoyed the sport so much that in 2008, he made a failed attempt to launch his own competing MMA venture.
I want to say it was TMZ was interviewing me one time, and they're like, Donald Trump's about to go head to head to you. You know, what do you have to say about that? I said, I'll never say anything bad about Donald Trump. Donald Trump was good to us, you know, but it's a testament to how much he likes fighting and what he saw in the UFC back in those days.
Now people look back and they say, oh, UFC was an overnight success. And no, it wasn't. Like, there were at least 5 years there that were very difficult.
By this time, the Fertittas had sunk more than $30 million into the company with little return.
We got to the point where we were just losing money year after year. Every event we were losing money. And at the same time, fighters wanted to make more money. Managers wanted more money. Everybody wanted.
So one day I was at the office and Lorenzo called me and he's like, I can't keep doing this. Me and my brother can't keep funding this thing. It's getting bad. So I need you to go out and see what you could sell this thing for. I started making phone calls that day, and at the end of the day, I called him back and I said, 7 or 8 million. Could probably get 7 or 8 million for this thing, in my opinion.
That's the moment that you have to realize, am I going to just quit? Am I just going to give up? Or do I have what it takes to push forward? Because those are the moments that you as an entrepreneur are going to face. If you want to build a big brand, if you want to build a big business, if you want to make an impact, those are the moments that are going to build your character. So at that moment, you either go all in or you quit or you give up.
Yeah.
So literally went home, woke up the next morning and just felt like it's not the right thing to do.
I thought it was over. And the next day I'm driving to work and Lorenzo calls me and this is literally, quote what he said, fuck it. Let's keep going.
So you have to have those moments, those fucking moments. Those moments that say, you know what? I'm going to fucking go all in. And no matter what happens, I know I'm leaving nothing in the table. Because it goes back to that belief system. It goes back to understanding your customers. It goes back to understanding your value. Do you believe enough that you say, fuck it, I'm going to go push through? Or are you going to believe in that negative voice that's constantly telling you that you're going to fail?
The way for this business to work was we had to get distribution on television.
But at the time, they wouldn't even allow it on pay-per-view. So think about this. As a grown man, you didn't have the option to buy this thing on pay-per-view. Porn was on pay-per-view, but UFC was not allowed.
We had already gone out and pitched it. Every network in Hollywood, you know, ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN. I mean, it's a joke, but I did say, like, if the Food Network would put it on, I'd put it on there if we could convince them.
When you're grinding and nobody wants your product and nobody wants to hear about it, you got to sort of go out and then, you know, force them.
You got to hustle. Imagine getting those no's. Imagine going knocking on doors and getting those. I don't know if you've been in a situation where you get rejection after rejection after rejection. I mean, when I was in real estate, my first year, my mentor gave me a book. He says, Raul, I'm going to give you this book. It's going to make you $1 million. I said, man, I couldn't wait to go and read this book. By the time I got home, he had dropped off the white pages. So some of you guys don't know what the white pages are because you're too young. But the white pages is the list of names and addresses of every single person that lives in your city. So he told me, pick up the phone, start calling people. Call people if they want to buy real estate. And for the first week, I called at least 200-300 people every single day. And I got 200-300 rejections. So I got almost 1,000 rejections over the phone before I got my first yes. But see, most people quit after the second, third, fourth, or even the 10th, or even the 100th rejection. Can you keep going even though you're getting rejected? I can imagine Dana White putting his heart and soul into this. Nobody wants to distribute his product. But he knew that the principle that he had to live by is get attention. So that's another principle that we're going to learn is getting the attention of the right customer.
The guy that ran in-demand pay-per-view, his name was Marshall Zelaznik. He wouldn't even take a meeting with us. So they used to have their big cable TV convention in Century City. And I booked a hotel room there, got up in the morning, went down to where all the conferences were, found out what meeting he was in and waited for him outside the door. And when he came out, I said, Marshall, Dana White from the UFC. You could tell too, when I walked up to him, he was like, how the hell did this guy find me? So I started telling him, we created this reality show. It's designed to sell pay-per-views. It'll be big for both of our businesses. And he hated it, but we ended up working it out. We did a deal with them.
White and the Fertittas teamed up with veteran TV producer Craig Peligian to develop a reality show called The Ultimate Fighter.
Reality television was so big at the time, it was like our Trojan horse to get on TV, with fighting without it actually being fighting. So we were pitching all the networks, nobody liked it. So this new network popped up called Spike TV, and they were labeled the network for men. I mean, if we don't fit there, where do we fit?
They passed. But then we said, hey, why don't we go to them and we will propose that we'll pay for the production. We'll pay for the production and give it to you for free.
The season was going to cost $10 million, but as long as the Fertittas were footing the bill, Spike was happy to take a chance on the show for free.
When you look back on stuff like that, and for other entrepreneurs that are out there, when you have to put up the money at the time for yourself, it's hard and it seems whatever, but guess what ended up happening? We put up the money, so we owned 100% of everything. We owned everything.
Principle number 5, put your money where your mouth is. I mean, it worked out great for Dana because now he owns 100% of the rights to the show. Again, another deal that he made, another opportunity that he saw, but he had to risk losing money. See, most entrepreneurs don't like to take the risk and they don't put the money where the mouth is. And the key in order for you to win is to realize that, man, you got to take risks. You got to pay the price. Nothing in life comes easy, but you have to be willing to look at what you have and the value that you bring into the table and just put your money where your mouth is. Because eventually, if it doesn't pay off, if you don't make money, at least you get the experience and you learn what not to do next time.
Which ended up being a much better deal for us in the long run.
Another key decision had to be made, which was who was going to be on TV, who was going to be the host. And it made all the sense in the world for Dana to be that person.
You're over. You either cut the weight in 2 hours per the commission, or you quit now and become eliminated.
He said, I'll do it. And he said, look, this is going to change your life. Like, things are going to change. And he goes, I get it, I understand. But once again, wanting to win and wanting to be successful was the key. It was never about becoming famous. It was about what do we need to do to make the business work. We made the decision that we weren't going to have any announcers and we weren't going to cut the fights. Just whatever happened, happened. And you don't have anybody in your ear telling you what's going on. You're just experiencing this thing. And I really, truly believe, and that was something Dana felt very strong about, that was part of the secret sauce that helped launch the UFC into what it became today.
One of the main reasons why people love the UFC so much is because it's real, it's authentic. I mean, you can't fake a punch there. You can't fake getting knocked out. Like, if you go to the octagon, if you go to the ring, like, it's going to happen. Whatever's going to happen. So when you start looking at his strategy of bringing that rawness into TV, that rawness into the viewers, then that's part of the secret sauce. Authenticity grabs people's attention.
I've been loyal to the sport of mixed martial arts since I was 19, and I found it, and I was a fan of it. And I said, this is what I want to do. I love this. And then I got a call with 17 days notice to be a replacement on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. I'd never really seen a reality show, so I didn't really know what it was about. Some of the crew said this might never see the light of day. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I knew it was bad.
The show did make it to the air in 2005, and it became an instant ratings hit for Spike, and it turned White into a reality TV star.
I was there the moment Dana White found his sea legs. It was the "Do you want to be a fucking fighter" speech.
Do you want to be a fighter? That's the question.
That's why I'm here.
It's not about cutting weight. It's not about living in a house. It's about, do you want to be a fighter? It's not all signing autographs and banging broads when you get out of here. It's not. It's no fun, man. It's a job, just like any other job. So the question is, not did you think you had to make weight? Did you think you had to do this? Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question. And only you know that. Anybody who says they don't, I don't want you here. And I'll throw you the out of this gym so fast your head will spin. It's up to you. I don't care. Cool? I love y'all. That's why you're here. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Man, love it, man. Just gives me chills. I could just imagine those men there, and I wish I was, a fly in the wall there. But the reality is that energy of he's not playing a character. Dana White is being him. He's actually doing what he loves to do. He's talking to them. Imagine that's how he talks to his fighters all the time, whether the cameras are on or the cameras are not on. So again, back to the authenticity. back to you knowing your customer, back to you believing in your product. I also believing in this man because he was pouring his heart out into this business. That's why he believed that he owed it to this man to make this work.
To me, White has never stopped being that reality TV star. In the years since, he's embraced the attention he gets from saying outrageous things on camera.
Big deal, the guy sleeping next to you stinks. He's drunk all night, making noise, and you can't sleep. You got roommates.
But with his aggressive promotion, the UFC took off. And because it retained 100% ownership rights of its media, when Spike renewed the show for additional seasons and eventually broadcasted UFC live events, its revenues skyrocketed.
It was because of Dana that we had this incredible talent, incredible visionary as far as understanding and helping to create the product and having the street smarts and the toughness to be able to deal with the fighters and the managers.
Realistically, Dana is the best thing that ever happened to the sport of mixed martial arts. So it's kind of easy to be loyal to him.
The UFC developed into something like a cult under White, and its fans developed a cult-like passion for it.
If you've ever been into a UFC fight, you know it's a cult. It's an energy that goes around. I actually coached one of the guys who was an MMA fighter who went to a Bellator fight. Man, that energy there was contagious. I could just imagine a UFC fight is out of this world. So you have to build a product that creates not just a fan base, but a cult base, a culture. The culture creates the fans that are going to pay thousands of dollars for your product and service. You know, one of the things that we do here at the Edge program is to create a culture of men who are bonding with each other through breakthrough. Like every single one of these men that comes to my boot camp, they're bound by each other. That's why we create that culture. That culture that you could actually count another man, not because of how much money he has, not much because of his success, but because he's another man that's willing to fight for his freedom, another man that's standing for something. That's part of having a culture of people you can count on. That's what Dana's building, a culture of fighters that the fans love to watch, love to support, love to be part of.
Put on this earth to do what he does, literally to be the face of the UFC. I think the fact that he became such a big part of the brand actually helped the brand and helped elevate the brand of the UFC, and that association between the two worked. His persona, the way he interacts, and he's taken to it just perfectly in the way that he runs the press conferences to doing press.
Listen, Islam knows I love him, man, but you know how I feel about that. John Jones is undefeated for however many years, and who all you want. And fuck you for asking that question. Go ahead. All right.
I say, and Dana's a personality. He loves to have fun and he loves to, to engage the crowd. That's what makes him so successful because he knows how to work the crowd. His whole purpose is to build this brand.
By 2010, the company was valued at $2 billion when it sold a 10% stake to the son of one of the richest men in Abu Dhabi. The following year, the UFC landed a lucrative new broadcast deal with Fox, and the Fertitta soon began receiving offers from potential buyers.
The numbers just got so big that we're like, maybe it does make sense to exit the business and see kind of where this thing can go from there.
In 2016, the brothers sold the UFC to WME IMG, now known as Endeavor, for more than $4 billion. White's take? $360 million before taxes.
Even though we love the business and we're passionate about it, at the time, the largest deal ever in the history of sports felt pretty good.
It was a weird time for me. I didn't want to sell. Lorenzo did. And it was at the point where, Lorenzo finally had to sit me down and said, "You're my best friend. I'm done. I want to move on. Be happy for me, okay?" And, once he put it to me that way, I understood it better, I guess I would say.
Part of being an entrepreneur is knowing that everybody has seasons. Partners have seasons, but it wasn't a bad payday. $396 million for Dana White. I say it was a good investment. He's going to be a billionaire regardless because he has a stake on UFC, and at the end, he's Dana White and he has other ventures. But at the end of the day, he's not doing it. I don't believe he's doing it for the money. He already has enough money to retire. I mean, this guy already made it. He's doing it because he believes in the game. He's in love with the game and wants to see the game win.
It's important for Dana, even when we exited, to stay on with the UFC because he was such an integral part of the brand. He was the face of the business. And in a lot of ways, he's just irreplaceable. You can't replace him. It is what it is. I mean, Dana is the UFC.
Luckily, Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel had been White's agent for years and told him he could continue running the business how he wanted. That choice turned out to be a profitable one a few years later when COVID-19 pandemic shut down the sports world.
All of a sudden, we roll into the scariest time in my lifetime. I'm 55, scariest time in my lifetime. And I'm going to tell all these people that have helped me build this business, I know this is horrible and I don't know what the future holds, but I got to lay, 37% of you off. Good luck, everybody. I hope you make it. I hope you all make it through. That's never going to happen here, ever, under any circumstances. When the COVID thing happened, we had the vaccine, right? If you wanted it, you could take it. If you didn't have to take it. It was not mandatory here at the UFC for employees or fighters to be vaccinated. But if you wanted it, we'd help you get it. Whichever one you wanted to take, we'd help you get it. We don't tell grown men and women what to do. This is a free country, and you can do whatever you want to do.
White's ideology didn't mix well with the government mandates at the time.
I own an arena right next door here, right? So in my hometown, I don't need to pack the arena or do any of that. I need a couple fighters. I need some commission guys. I need some production people. And we can beam this thing out all over the world. We had social distancing and masks and all the stuff that was going on during that time, and we would have abided by whatever the standards and rules were. And the governor here still wouldn't let me do it.
Nevada's Democratic Governor Steve Sisolak squashed the plan, and White never forgot.
He can hold a grudge. If you cross him, scorched earth, like he's just going to burn you out.
During the next election cycle, he endorsed and gave money to Sisolak's opponent, Republican Joe Lombardo, who won a narrow victory.
I can set up on an island. If there's some infrastructure there where I can actually do production, I just need an island or somewhere where I can put on fights. Ended up working out a deal in Florida and ended up working out a deal in Abu Dhabi. We ran our business through COVID. Everybody got paid. We honored every contract. And our business grew something crazy like 77% through COVID.
See, that's when we realize that standing for what you believe pays off. Like his business grew 77% because he figured things out. He figured things out because he didn't just bend to what everybody wanted him to do. He stood for something. He stood for what he believed in. That's principle number 6. Stand for what you believe in.
When you lead your family, your business, whatever it may be, you figure out solutions to problems and you take care of everybody, not just yourself.
I think why people are so attracted to Dana, whether just from a friendship standpoint or people want to follow him, that's why he's such a great leader. He's just got this halo about him or something about him that he's so likable. He can literally hold court and entertain like nothing you've ever seen.
And that's principle number 7. Leaders figure shit out. Not just for themselves, they figure it out for everyone else around them. That's what makes Dana White so special. Because it's not just about himself, it's about taking care of his fighters, taking care of his people, taking care of his employees. See, if you want to have the edge, you have to have a set of principles. You have to have a set of rules that you live by. I call this the code. The moment that you find the code to the edge, you become unstoppable. So my intention for you as you watch this video is to ask yourself, what are my set of rules? What are my principles that I live by? What can I take from Dana and find my code to the edge? Because I believe every single man has a code. But it's up to you to find what gives you your edge. So if you found value in this video, make sure you check out this other video here when I break down what creates an unstoppable mindset and how can you have it. Check it out. If you're ready to find the edge, go to kingscodebook.com to get the latest copy of my book, The King's Code. This book will help you find the clarity, the certainty, and the purpose that you need in order for you to lead with power. Go to kingscodebook.com and find your code to the edge now.